Hey everybody, Will with Strong Turf here, and today we are working on changing the hydraulic oil and filter in the Scag V-Ride II. Now Scag recommends that you do this every 500 hours or every year. If you'll notice, mine has 650 hours on it. I've already done my 500 hour maintenance, but towards the end of last season, I had the drive belt snap on me in the middle of doing a customer's backyard. So in the process of fixing that, I noticed that the drive belt bent my hydraulic oil filter. So it'll probably be fine, but just as preventative maintenance, we're gonna go ahead and do another fluid and filter change. Now here are the materials for what we'll be using today. This is the part number for the filter. I'm sure that all V-Rides use the same part number. However, double check with your Scag dealer and make sure you're getting the right filter, because nothing sucks more than getting the wrong one and having to drive back up there. Now, when I changed the fluid last time, I went to one store and they recommended I use 10W40. When I went and picked this up, the guy at the new store, or the other store, recommended I use 20W50. From my understanding, you can use either one. But for this purpose, we're using 20W50 in the blue bottle. The 10W40 came in the green bottle. Like I said, I don't think it really matters which one you use. So when you open up the backside of the mower, this tube right here will be your drain tube. And there's your filter. So we are going to open this cap, take off this cushion, this is where you will fill the new fluid at. We're gonna open that just to let it drain better. Probably dust some of this off while we're at it. And then we'll remove the filter. Simple as that. All right, so since this is above the plate that you stand on, it's a little tricky to drain because you can't really slide a pan in here. I mean, you can if you have a small enough pan, but what I'm going to be doing is taking an empty bottle and just draining it in there. So the first step, we're gonna take off our cap for better flow. Set that to the side. And I've already loosened this, so I can just take it off with my hand. But you will need either a socket and a pair of vice grips or two pairs of vice grips to make sure that this piece here doesn't twist as you're loosening this one. You really don't want this tube twisting and cracking and getting damaged. So, see if I can do this with one hand somewhat easily. Well, I couldn't get it very well with one hand, but I took the cap off and slid the bucket underneath it. And here is the plug for the drain tube. Now we're gonna let that drain. And once that's drained, then we're gonna take the filter off. Now while we've got that draining, I wanna show you. These right here on your hydraulic pumps are your dump valves. So these dump valves are basically used to disengage the hydraulics So for example, if you run out of gas and need to push the mower, or need to move the mower for any reason without the engine running, you would unscrew these about a half a turn to a full turn to disengage your hydraulics, and that'll cause the wheels to freely spin. And then whenever you put them back in, Scag recommends torquing these to set between 7 and 10 foot-pounds of torque. All right, now that we've got it drained, that drained about 2 quarts out of the system, a little less than 2 quarts. Now we've got to take off our filter. Now, not everybody has an oil filter wrench in their toolbox. This is a little trick that I've done on pretty much every single oil change I've done, where the filter is super tight and you can't get it off. You very, very gently take a Phillips head screwdriver and a hammer and poke it into the side there, and that will allow you to loosen your filter. Like I said, very, very gently, so that you don't damage the threads. But that's just a little trick that I've done, and it's worked for me every time. As with any other oil change, always compare your old filter to the new filter, and take some oil and put it on that O-ring. Give it a nice seal. I'm just taking what's dripping out of here as the oil for my O-ring. So wipe off our hands and put that bad boy up in there. Let's see if we can get it on while operating the camera at the same time. And we'll make sure that we're tied up against that seal. And we'll go hand tight and probably another quarter of a turn. Now our hydraulic oil filter is installed. Now for filling the reservoir. Scag tells you in their owner's manual that you should fill the reservoir 2 1/4 inches below the top of the filler neck. So on this screwdriver, I've made a mark at 2 1/4 inches, and we're gonna put that down there. And that is just below that hole. So that's where we're gonna fill it to, is just below that hole. Now we took out 2 quarts, or a little under 2 quarts when we drained this thing. So I'm not gonna be too careful with this first quart. I'm just gonna dump the whole thing in. And whenever we get to the second quart, that's when I'll be careful to not overfill it. Before I even start with the second quart, you can see it coming up the neck there. So we'll go slowly but surely. As to not overfill it. And we'll see where we're at. Getting there. And we're almost to the bottom of that hole there. I'm gonna go just a little bit more. And that should be good right there. Now, I've still got about 1/2 quart left. So we're gonna have to move the wheels a little bit, let the oil work into the system, and then top it off again. Got our oil cap back on, and now when I start this thing and try to move it, the wheels are not gonna move an inch. It's gonna be a weird feeling because you're gonna push them all the way in and you're gonna go nowhere. That is completely normal because there's no oil in the hydraulic system. You need to move them forward and back in order to get that fluid working. Now that I've moved it around forward and back, you can see how much fluid or oil the system sucked up. So we're gonna top that off once again to the bottom of that hole in there. And a quick pro tip, if you're gonna clean this surface off, do it with the cap on. Don't do it with the cap off, because then you're gonna get all kinds of dirt and debris down into your hydraulic reservoir. So now that we've got it moving, we've got it topped off, we're gonna check the fluid again probably in 10 or 20 hours or so, and just make sure that it's where it needs to be. Make sure that we don't need to top it off again. And that is all she wrote. So if this video helped you out, leave me a like and a comment, and I'll try to respond to any questions you may have. And have a great day.